My guest today is Leslie Householder. She's a three-time best-selling, award-winning, internationally published author of The Jackrabbit Factor, Portal to Genius, and Hidden Treasures, Heaven's Astonishing Help with Your Money Matters. She's the founder of Rare Faith with the School of Life Mastery. She also created Genius Boot Camp, a 3-day workshop based on the book Portal to Genius, which gives you the training and environment to help you discover your genius or get inspired and find inspired solutions to your toughest challenges. So you've built an entire training business, Rare Faith, and your School of Life Mastery with multiple courses, guided groups. You've got facilitators who are teaching your methods out to other people. Do you have any tips for those who wish to build a business around their books?
You don't know what's going to be the best approach with what you have to offer until you get there. Really, with what you've already created or the book, the content that you have in the book, I would suggest just starting by offering free classes to build a foundation on that to talk about the book. Because you know that with these things that we write, you write it, and then you can talk about what you wrote, and then you can talk about what people experienced from applying what you've written. I mean, there's always something more to say about what's already been done, and you can create free classes or hold a free event to say, hey, we're going to have a book club on this thing, or hey, we're going to discuss chapter whatever, 12, and the concepts in that chapter on Tuesday night. Join me free. And you have a video conference where you're talking about that thing. You can read some of it, you can get input from the readers about it, and just build a discussion. And then when you save that, you've got content for a future paid course. And so first of all, you're getting practice talking about your content. You're getting outside input. People are bringing their experiences to the conversation. And all of that is really, really powerful content that can inspire a future student. And so just capture everything you do. You know, if you're being interviewed somewhere, make sure you capture the audio at the very least of that and turn that into a podcast. Just repurpose everything you create. And ultimately, you're going to look back at this whole library of information you've gathered. And then it's going to be a lot easier to organize that and make it available for pay.
I love that. That is really, really good advice. I hope that our listeners or viewers are paying attention to that, because that's so important to document everything you're doing and keep videos or audios of everything, because you've put all of that to work. You don't waste anything. I've noticed you just have some really exceptional programs and a lot of people that come in and give you the feedback on it. How has the reader feedback or the student feedback driven where you've gone with future materials?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I change what I'm doing based on feedback in terms of content, but sometimes the feedback will shape its delivery. I know what I want my message to be, and it's for a certain type of person, and I'm not trying to please everybody. I know who my audience is. And so I'm pretty clear on my content. But then as people respond with, oh my gosh, that really helped me, or, hey, do you have that in audio? Or, I might hear what the desire is out there and how I can expand what I have based on what people are looking for. But again, I don't necessarily adjust my content based on feedback, but if I get feedback, I will always use that feedback where I have permission, or if I need to post it anonymously or whatever, to include in my newsletters. Here's what somebody's saying. It gets people feeling like, oh, this actually helps somebody. I wonder what's in it for me. And they might take it a little more seriously. And so again, sometimes the feedback will shape the way I deliver it, but it doesn't often shape the content itself. Although I do never let a good comment go to waste.
Jackrabbit Factor and I know Hidden Treasures. You offered those as PDFs. I assume you still do, as like lead generators, right? That's kind of a gutsy move to take your main books and then give them away. What was your thought process in that, and then how did it work out?
Yeah, well, at first, when I was looking for a publisher, I was taking the Jackrabbit Factor manuscript and sending it out to any publisher that I could think of that might be a good fit. And there seemed to be this market cultural expectation or whatever, that if I'm going to let this publisher review it for a potential contract, they're going to have exclusive rights for at least 3 months. And then I have to wait 3 months to get a no. And then I have to give it to somebody else and they've got exclusive rights for a few months. And I just got really tired of getting no's. I got rejected a lot. And final straw was when I was very intentional about the kind of publisher I'm looking for. And I had this criteria, someone that was in this genre, that had this experience, qualifications, whatever. And I'm like, I am going to find the right publisher for me. And I ended up finding one that had listed very specifically, we are looking for self-help material that is like an allegory, that has a strong motivational message, that and they basically described Jackrabbit Factor. I'm like, I found him. I found my publisher. So I very proudly sent them the manuscript and just was waiting for the yes when they wrote back, and they sent me a photocopied page of a Xerox that had been photocopied a little bit skewed. It wasn't even straight. That was a form letter that said, thank you for your submission. Unfortunately, we can only publish books that we can sell. If you ever write a self-help book with a strong motivational message that has a strong allegorical component to it, let us know. I'm like, you didn't even crack the book. I was so incensed by that. I was like, that was my one. That was the one. And they said no. I threw up my hands. And that's when you, Marnie, told me how I could do this myself, publish it myself, which was the best thing that I could have ever done. And I'm getting back to your question, because since I own the rights to my own book and I self-published, then when I got to a point where I felt the Spirit was saying, just let this one be for free. Just let it get out there so people can read I used to give away one chapter for free. But I had created a mini e-course, a $37 e-course about it. And I thought, if I could let the book go for free and people love it, they're going to want the course. And I found that I could sell a lot more $37 e-courses than the profit margin there is in a book. You can make a lot more money more quickly by selling a $37 e-course than in the $1 or $2 or whatever you might make selling a paperback book. And so if they got the whole thing and felt the generosity of, oh my gosh, I can read this whole thing for free, then at the end, they're like, that changed my life. I wonder what this e-course could do. And so the reason it was good that I didn't find a publisher is because if I had, I wouldn't own the rights to it to be able to give it away for free.
Right.
So that turned out to be a great blessing. And now all 3 of my books are available for free, even Portal to Genius. I have enough going on in my school, courses that I can sell there and coaching programs and whatever, that it just works better for people to read the whole foundation that everything I do is based on. And if it resonates with them, they'll want more. If it doesn't, nothing's lost. But mostly what happens is someone reads it and then they're like, oh my gosh, friend, you need to read this book and it's free. And so, I've had tens and tens and tens of thousands of subscribers just by word of mouth because people have been able to read the whole thing.
And I think a lot of people probably go over and buy the ebook version or the print version just because they want it in a format that's digestible to them, or audiobook. Do you see that happen? Or
Absolutely. They're like, okay, that was good enough. I want this on my shelf.
What do you sell the most of? Just curious. The ebook, Audible, or audio versions, or print, or?
I honestly don't know for sure, but I am suspecting paperback. Probably paperback. Our print on demand service, they don't have an easy report to give you how many books you've sold over time. You have to download PDFs for each month and calculate your own. And I just don't even bother. Having done this for over 20 years now, it's just not. I keep my chickens and my eggs over in my school where the courses are, where we have students and there's active things going on there. I don't worry so much about what's going on with the books.
So the books are almost just lead generators for the meat and potatoes, right?
Yes. I will say, to clarify, like, the books themselves are enough for a lot of people. That's all they needed to get the changes that they wanted in their lives. The reason we have courses and everything is not because the books are a teaser for the better thing. The books are the meat and potatoes. The courses are to help people apply what's in those books in more specific situations, or if they're just needing a little extra help understanding certain concepts or how to apply it in this particular challenge that they didn't quite extrapolate from the books, and so I see the school as supplemental to what the meat and potatoes are in the books themselves.
Oh, that's a good distinction. And then some people want the whole community. I mean, you've got a whole community of people who are applying these principles, and it's much easier to apply life changes when you've got people around you that are doing it too, and you can ask questions and they can ask you questions in classes and things. And I love the support system that you built, and then the facilitators and to take it and run with it. I'm curious, at what point did you decide I need facilitators to do this and to go beyond?
Yeah. So the first 10 years, I was just getting the word out about the books and about the Mindset Mastery program, which was built on top of the Jackrabbit Factor story. And what the Mindset Mastery course is, it's a 15-week experiment where you're walked through, all right, here's what you learned. Let's put it to the test. And it's like a lab. It's taking the principles from Jackrabbit Factor and it's putting it into life like a lab where you are eliminating all the variables and you're testing the direct connection between the way you think and the results that show up. And you first do that in phase 1 with something inconsequential, something that your life doesn't depend on, just to play with it a little bit and see if you can discover that connection. And then when you do, you're like, oh, if I could do that with this meaningless thing, what could I do with my life? And that's when you start to apply it in phase 2 for your life. But that was the first 10 years focusing on the books and the Mindset Mastery program. Out of that, I built a 3-day workshop called Genius Bootcamp, which takes those principles and it's like, okay, but what do you do if you're in a crisis? Like, what is the skill that you need to discover that genius idea that's going to solve the immediate problem right in front of you? Mindset Mastery is more of kind of like a life plan, goal achievement program, but Genius Bootcamp is like, oh, but here's a crisis. What do I do right now? What do I do about this problem that I don't have time to sit and meditate about? I've just got to fix it. And it's based on the premise that the solution to every problem is only an idea away. And the idea you need is already in the room with you, spiritually. And so it's how do I capture that? How do I identify it? That's what Genius Bootcamp does. Well, I get bored easily. I get burned out on saying the same thing over and over again. And so when I started losing my enthusiasm for teaching Genius Bootcamp, I'm like, I want this to stay available to people, but I'm tired. I want to move on to do something else, and so that's when I opened it up to facilitators back in 2010, I think, or 2011 for the first time, trained some people to teach it. And we've had a number of facilitators over the years trained to teach that. And it's like something that they get to do on their own time when they want to with their friends. And it's a fun way to wake people up to the power of their mind and the spiritual component of problem solving in a very short experience. And then from there, like, they've got a skill that they can, anytime they find themselves in a crisis, they know what to do and they can get their spark and get through it. So that's why I ended up opening it up to facilitators, and it's been fun.